Good morning, YouTubers. Greetings from Gretna Green Services on the Scottish-English border. And so this is my reporting. For those of you who've been following my little tale of my i4, this is our first long journey. So going from Inverness down to Warwick. So we decided, because of weather and strikes and God knows whatever else, to head off last night, Thursday night, after work. Stay over in Lockerbie, and then today, Friday, to go from Lockerbie down to Warwick. And my expectation was that we'd get longer range because steadier driving, etc, etc. So I charged the battery during the day, got it up to I think 98%, and then that was showing an indicated 100%, well 98% battery, giving me about 250 miles of range. We haven't used the car a lot the last 3 or 4 weeks, various reasons, but just not been used. Probably the novelty's worn off, and been doing a lot more domestic stuff, walking dogs and stuff. And this is a really nice car, but so I've been using. We've got a little Golf as well, so I've been bombing around in that everywhere. So 240, 250 miles of range indicated. We had a couple of false starts, so effectively done 30 miles before we actually started the journey, due to, let's call it, forgetful me, forgetting two quite key things, having to turn back. So then we actually set off, get going. We've done 30 miles. We're now down to showing 170 miles of range, and we've already lost about 13-14% of the battery. And the reason for that is it's cold. It was about -2 when we set off. So between Inverness and Perth, which is about 110 miles door to door, by the time we got to Perth, we were down to 30% battery and about 50 miles of range, which was not quite in our plan. I had actually planned to stop in Perth at Starbucks and have a coffee and do a top-up charge. Actually, in fact, what we ended up doing was we topped it back up to, I think, 76%, and it indicated 190 miles of range. So the reason for that was, going through the Cairngorms down the A9, we had the lowest temperature we hit was about -7.5. So that cold did seem to drain the battery. And then I thought, well, going down through Glasgow and being on motorways, it wouldn't be quite as cold. Like, how wrong could I be? So we left Perth, indicated 190 miles of range, 76% battery, going down to Lockerbie, which is about 105, 110 miles away. We've got plenty, loads of battery. Well, that didn't quite work out. So the temperatures dropped, and at certain stages it was -10. It never got above -8, and we lost, I think, about 50 miles of range. And so it meant that what should have been a comfortable drive wasn't. We were then sort of thinking, do we need to stop and do a top-up charge? It is getting late. We weren't going to get to a hotel to 10 as it was. Getting tired. I'd worked all day, and we've got a bit of stress added in as well. And then the range is dropping, and this range anxiety comes in because it is very, very cold. So next then, decided to go on to, there was a couple of services I could have stopped at. One was a bit soon, so I thought, no, I'll push on to the next one. And then we looked to see what chargers they were, and they were, yes, another different type of, or brand, which I don't have an app for. So bear in mind, I've got Instavolt, the Scottish charging app, BP Pulse, and Ionity with BMW. So I've got 4 separate sources of charging already. Then I come across them, I'm not sure, do I actually have an app for that? I don't mind getting more apps. I can have 50 apps if need be. It's just not always knowing which ones to get. So we decided to push on, I was hoping really to use the Ionity apps from the BMW card because that's all set up and they are very fast. I mean, working right now, we're up to 46% and 111 miles, and we've been sat here 15-20 minutes, so it had gone from 15%. So yeah, I don't really mind having more apps, just which ones you get, and it is quite stressful then wondering what is the right charger and is it going to be working, is it going to be available. So being tired, let's get to the hotel. I had a sudden burst of stop. The range stopped going down, so we were going past the last service station. We had 7 miles to go to the hotel, and I think I had 55 miles of range and 35% battery, something like that. So I said to my wife, "Yeah, we'll be okay. This is not as bad as I thought. We're going to be fine. The range is going back up again." The last 7 miles, we went from 55 miles of range to 30 miles of range, and I think 37% or 30% battery to 17% battery for 7 miles because the temperature dropped down to -8.5, -9 again. So it was really just has such an effect. So we've got up this morning and followed our plan, which was to come into Gretna, Starbucks and have breakfast, but we are having to do a pretty major charge so we can get enough to get a bit further down the road. So the impact of these very low temperatures is taken out probably a third of the range that you could expect, maybe more than that. And it's making the effective range between charges around about 125 miles on 75-80% battery. So that's less than my motorbike will get anywhere near. My motorbike will do 200 miles to a tank full, and I tend to fill up every 170-180 miles. I'd freeze my ass off in -10 temperature, but you know, that's a minor point. We have music being played. So that little burst of music. So we're now at 50% battery, 123 miles of range. If we charge up to 100%, we're showing 242 miles of range. The temperature is currently -5.5. You can see if we look outside, we have a fair amount of snow. The Ionity chargers are really good. Just get on there, you can see what's going on. And much as I love this car, and we do, it's a fabulous car, we're sort of showing now that when it's very cold, you've got way less than 200 miles of range. And I know the counter to that is that when it's very warm, you're probably going to get over 300 miles of range. So but we're using cars all year round. The best range I've got so far is an indicated 250 miles. I think that's the best I've ever had when it's been relatively okay temperature wise. And the worst now, as I say, I'm looking at an effective range to allow for chargers not working or chargers not being the right ones or all the other things about the infrastructure. I've now filled up twice, and my total distance I know is 260 miles. So in 260 miles I've done 2 pretty major charges, allowing for temperatures being very, very low. So that's my check-in. If you've got one of these cars, then I'm sure you're enjoying it. These are exceptional temperatures, but you know, we're in the UK, so we're all suffering them. And if you're going to buy one of these cars, got one on order, and you're doing it thinking you are going to get over 300 miles of range, well, you're not. You might get it in midsummer, but realistic range is going to be around about 230, 240 miles. And as I say, when the temperature drops, you're looking at significantly below 200 miles for range. So I hope you find that helpful. We're going to set off fairly soon, and when we do that, I'll do another little check-in when we get down to Warwick. Take care.